Hello y'all, Lady B here. This is my third video. Oh my god, still a little nervous, but I definitely was feeling called today. Kind of in the morning hours, I got this like name came to me, and it was just the words the tool bag arsenal. And it's kind of relative to like I'm dealing with a lot of stuff in my own life, and just like me contemplating and pondering those things. And reflecting on actions and what I could put in place to do better and progress in more healthier ways. So like thinking about all that, and then I was like feeling that calling, and thinking about the YouTube stuff. Like it's really nerve wracking, and this name just kind of came to me, and it was like I know I'm gonna be creating a video today called the Tool Bag Arsenal. So I can kind of speak on a little bit about that. So what do I mean by tool bag arsenal? Like, what is that? You know, for me, it's the go-to like tools that I utilize and I reach to address and deal with emotional patterns, or just in the moments of overwhelming energy and negative energy, whatever it is, anxiety, fear, any form of stress, anger, like pain, suffering, any of all that negative energy, right? Them heavy energies, them dark energies, all of that. Like we have various levels of coping mechanisms to deal with them at different severities and frequencies, And for the most part, I'm pretty solid, you know what I mean? Like I got a lot of good healthy coping mechanisms in place, and it takes a whole hell of a lot for me to reach that breaking point. I've had a lot of times where I have reached that breaking point in the past, for damn sure, but because of all those experiences, I learned and grew and grew and grew and grew to the point where today I'm a lot healthier in my mind, body, and spirit and heart. But recently, I had a little bit of a setback emotionally. I had that overwhelmingness, and it was a very much. And I'm an emotional sponge sometimes, and I have a really close to my heart. My family just going through some strife, and their emotional strife definitely, like, I couldn't help but just absorb that, and it hurt so much, and it made me want to hurt myself, right? Like that was back in the day, like middle school, like my coping mechanism was hurting myself. That's what I learned to do, was harm myself to process, use that physical pain to process that emotional mental pain. Now this is not a healthy way to handle things, and so I have quite grown past that. I'm like 31 now, so like definitely grown way past that. But sometimes you have those moments where that's the mechanism you almost, just inherently turn back to. So I had that moment where I was facing this, feeling of just wanting self harm to process emotional pain, that in that moment was just too much for me to process, and what did I have in my tool bag to deal with that? At that level of intensity, I didn't have anything in my tool bag, so I made, a like more of a self-destructive emotional choice in that moment on processing, and I wasn't happy with that. But all I can do is look at it and like, what can I do better, or what can I put in place for moving forward for these situations? I need my tool bag to be filled with the appropriate tools and healthy mechanisms, to be able to function through these hard, difficult times. Like that's where we want to, be able to strive for, because we need to be able to get through the darkness. Um, so today is like that's what I want to talk with you guys. What tools do you have in your tool bag arsenal to deal and cope with these hard situations, and in those moments of intensity and overwhelming pain and energy? I think my whole plan was to institute the structure of that level where I'm like really wanting to hurt myself. Well, even if you're just so much pain that you're like screaming, punching a pillow, whatever it is, like what are you doing to help you at that level of intensity? And I had a significant other suggest to me, to start doing some crunches until you just like get all that, energy out, and that pain out, but through that physical exercise, because physical exercise really does help a lot with these like energy things. So that's my structure that I'm putting in place. Okay, like, you know, whatever I'm gonna do is learn from every single situation and grow as much as I can, and put these structures with these tools, have them available to use. So if that level of intensity happens again, I know the first thing my go-to plan is going to be reaching for that tool of doing some physical exercise, crunches, versus going to any other tool of self-harm, or, you know, like a tendency a lot of us have to turn to is like addiction, you know, drugs and alcohol. Like, shit, that's all I seen growing up. That's the only example I had of the people around me of how did they cope with stress. They were always stressed the fuck out and always in pain, and, you know, going through and just not progressing through the traumas, you know, just sitting in there, dwelling in it, and just reliving and creating more scenarios of the same nature. And it's really difficult for a lot of people to understand that. Like, you really got to change in here if you want to see the change out here. Like, if all this shit out here is messed up, it's a direct reflection of the internal environment. External environment is a direct reflection of the internal environment. So that's your sign. That's your, oh shit, all this fucked up shit that's happened outside in my environment that I'm so deeply affected about. Oh, that's me needing to look inside and take a look at my thoughts and my feelings and where they're at. Because guess what? I can guarantee they're pretty destructive or chaotic, or, you know, I'm not paying enough close attention to them, and I'm getting in all types of emotional thought patterns, you know, of conditioned ways of being. So once you can kind of start addressing and developing that inner beingness and connectedness, and growing through some of that, creating safe environments for yourself to be able to sit here and process and deal with things that you don't necessarily want to deal with. It's really important that you have that tool bag arsenal at the ready, filled with those tools for you. So even like various different tools for various different jobs, right? Sometimes we just need to distract ourselves, but in a healthy way, not with the unhealthy stuff, right? And, you know, like, what are healthier ways? Like, I like to play video games, or go outside in nature, take a walk, get some sunlight, get your energies moving up and forward and up in momentum, and lining your scale of frequency, you know? But you have to just get up and push yourself and do something and get your energies in the right place. So, you know, the different levels of intensity, you need those different tools to handle. And, you know, I had most of my tools set in all those places, but dude, when you think you got your shit set, no, there's gonna be situations of overwhelming intensity that you're gonna be like, wait a second, I need a real serious tool that in this moment I know it's my go-to to handle this level of stress, so I don't fucking break. Because we will all have those moments of breaking, you know, within our hearts and our spirit, and you lose just all hope and things like that. So how can you get through those if you don't develop that tool bag arsenal? So that arsenal is so important for, you know, today is the day to start building it if you haven't already. But I would love to hear from y'all what you guys do have in your tool bag, that tool belt, and how do you carry through these darkness, and how do you transform that, and create healthier, you know, functioning ways of going about dealing with that shadow self, dealing with those generational traumas, dealing with those repressed emotional, you know, like frequencies of patterns. Like, how do you deal with those chains? Like, you know, what tools do you go to? Where do you recognize within yourself that you no longer, what tools you no longer want to pick up, you know? Like, you don't want to keep reaching for these other unhealthy tools that you've been comfortable with reaching to, because your go-tos, you know they're bad for you, but you don't like how they really make your life, you know, they really fuck shit up sometimes, but you're like, oh, it's my comfortable go-to tool. You know, what tools are you willing to leave behind and wipe the slate clean, and get rid of these other tools so you can have, you know, put good tools in practice. But I mean, you need the good tools first. So that's why the focus is, you know, developing that tool bag arsenal. Get those tools in place, have those other good tools there, lots of them, so you have choices and options to pick the right tool for the job. So that way you can get rid of the broken tools that don't work well. You know, they ain't serving you no good purpose no more. And you wonder why you keep going back to them. It's because you don't have any other tools, you know. So get those tools. And this is something they don't teach. They don't teach, you know, in school. Like, a lot of parents don't teach this shit. They teach it the wrong way. Like, first of all, we just, as children, we're just watching and observing the environment. So we're learning everything, we're picking up everything. So they ain't actively teaching us like, oh hey, this is what you're supposed to do. No, they just living their life and fucking up and making mistakes, and we watching and learning, and seeing how they do all their stuff, you know. And that's where those habits, patterns, and chains kind of continue, because it gets built into you, it gets conditioned into you. That's all you fucking know. So that's why these cycles are so hard to break. They just gets extremely difficult to make that transformation within. So I would love to hear from y'all. Leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. This is definitely something that I want to continue, you know, sharing whatever message there is that may provide some type of value, or, you know, just benefit to you guys, and help you develop any kind of spiritual awareness that's going to help you create that internal peace and happiness inside. Don't forget that every individual is 100% responsible for their own suffering and their own happiness. No matter what the fuck happened to you, no matter what the fuck was outside your control, all you do have control over is your internal mind and heart, right? And then a lot of times we give that over to the power of what the fuck happened. Now, where that's always gonna happen and continue happening. So we kind of got to transform those habits, habituated ways of being, you know. And that starts with that tool bag, you know. So I really appreciate you all for watching. You know, this is something that is still very new to me. And I do appreciate any and all support. So please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all soon.